Welcome to Chapter 6, The Nature of Management. This is Business 100. I'm Dr. Yohe, and we'll get started. The first thing I've got for y'all here is the terms, key terms. And I'm not going to read all of these. You can read them. But terms are very important in this chapter. So we're going to go over them. Administrative managers, those who manage an entire business or a major segment of a business. They are not specialists, but coordinate the activities of specialized managers. Agenda, calendar containing both specific and vague items that covers short-term goals and long-term objectives. Brainstorming, a technique in which groups of members spontaneously suggest ideas to solve a problem. Analytical skills, the ability to identify relevant issues, recognize their importance, understand the relationships between them, and perceive the underlying causes of a situation. Conceptual skills, the ability to think in abstract terms and to see how parts fit together to form a whole. Controlling, the process of evaluating and correcting activities to keep the organization on course. Crisis management or contingency planning, an element in planning that deals with potential disasters such as product tampering, oil spills, fire, earthquake, computer virus, or a plane crash. Directing, motivating and leading employees to achieve organizational objectives. Downsizing, the elimination of a significant number of employees from an organization. Employee empowerment, when employees are provided with the ability to take on responsibilities and make decisions about their jobs. Financial managers, those who focus on obtaining needed funds for the successful operation of an organization and using those funds to further organizational goals. First line managers, many of you have jobs. You might be dealing with a first line manager. Those who supervise both workers and the daily operations of an organization. Human relations skills, the ability to deal with people both inside and outside the organization. Human resource managers, those who handle the staffing function and deal with employees in a formalized manner. If you have a job, many of you have probably dealt with human resource managers. IT managers, those who are responsible for implementing, maintaining, and controlling technology applications in business, such as computer networks. If you're in information technology, you may be an information technology manager someday. Management, a process designed to achieve an organization's objectives by using its resources effectively and efficiently in a changing environment. That definition is going to be very important. What is a manager? We always think, oh, it's the boss, it's whatever. A manager is a person, okay, or he is involved in a person involved in a process that is designed to achieve the organization's objectives by using its resources effectively and efficiently, and we'll go over what that means in further slides. Managers, those individuals in organizations who make decisions about the use of resources and who are concerned with planning, organizing, staffing, directing, and controlling the organization's activities to reach its objectives. Okay, these are the people who engage in those activities. This could be a frontline manager, if we talked about before, all the way up to the CEO, president of the company. Marketing managers, those who are responsible for planning, pricing, and promoting products and making them available to customers. Middle managers, you may have worked with middle managers, those members of an organization responsible for the tactical planning that implements the general guidelines established by top management. So these are the people who take the guidelines established by, say, the president or the CEO of the company you work for or going to work for, and they are responsible for the tactical planning, which we'll talk about what that means, that actually implements these guidelines. Mission, a statement of an organization's fundamental purpose and basic philosophy. Networking, the building of relationships and sharing of information with colleagues who can help managers achieve the items on their agenda. Operational plans, very short-term plans that specify what action individuals, work groups, or departments need to accomplish in order to achieve the tactical plan and ultimately the strategic plan. Organizing, the structuring of resources and activities to accomplish objectives in an efficient and effective manner. Planning, the process of determining the organization's objectives and deciding how to accomplish them. This is the first function of management, planning. Production and operation managers, those who develop and administer the activities involved in transforming resources into goods, services, and ideas ready for the marketplace. Staffing, the hiring of people to carry out the work of the organization. Strategic plan, we talked about that before. Organizational plans are meant to accomplish strategic plans, those plans that establish the long-range objectives and overall strategy or course of action by which a firm fulfills its mission. Tactical plans, we talked about those. Frontline managers oftentimes are implementing tactical plans. These are short-range plans designed to implement the activities and objectives specified in the strategic plan. Technical expertise is specialized knowledge and training needed to perform jobs that are related to particular areas of management. And finally, top managers, the president and other top executives of a business, such as the CEO, the CFO, Chief Financial Officer, Chief Operating Officer, who have overall responsibility for the organization. Now, management, designed to achieve objectives by using resources effectively and efficiently. We talked about that definition. Effectively means having the intended results. A simple one, if we're supposed to be creating a product, say a widget, that satisfies consumer needs at a profit. We want to make sure we produce widgets, they satisfy consumers' needs, and we do so at a profit. Relating to a profit, we have efficiently, which means accomplishing objectives with the minimum amount of resources. If we can, say, produce a widget with 1 foot of a 2x4, 30 minutes of machine time, an hour of labor, we don't want to use more than that. That just runs costs up, reduce profits, and hurts the firm. Now, many of us have jobs and we say, oh, I care less about my boss. I care less if stockholders make profits. I don't know them. I don't care about them. Oh, they're just greedy, rotten, evil capitalists. No. The purpose of a firm in our society is to make the world a better place. We do that under a capitalist economy by taking resources that are worth less to our fellow man and converting them into things that are worth more. By doing so, we've taken things that people value and like less and turned them into things they like more, thus creating value and making the world a better place. If we use more things than we had to, then we're creating less value, making the world a less nice place. Now, under capitalism, under pure free market capitalism, an entrepreneur is rewarded for making the world a better place through a profit. That profit motivates selfish individuals, which we all are, to actually go out in the world and make it a better place for other people. By doing so under capitalism, we're rewarded with a profit, which we can then go out and use to make the world a better place for the entrepreneur. Managers make decisions about the use of resources. That's the manager's job. Managers might decide decisions on labor, on materials. They might decide what building we should use to house our business. These are all decisions that are made by managers who are making decisions about the use of resources. Wish I could find a good spot to put this thing. Okay, the importance of management. Okay, required resources, employees. Okay, you can't get anything done without labor. Okay, employees are hired through staffing. Okay. We recruit, train, compensate, and provide benefits to foster loyalty. And then we talked about this need to downsize. Okay. One of the things they talk about in your book is the manager's responsibility in the event of a downsizing. Okay. I think we've all, I don't know, get to be my age, been around someplace where they're downsizing. One of the things you don't want to do is destroy the loyalty of good employees to the company. I've been in a job where someone's come and said, hey, they're going to downsize. Y'all better go out and look for other jobs. Okay. What did that manager do? Is he operating in the best interest of the firm? No. Is he operating in the best interest of the employees? Maybe not. Okay. Let's say you're downsizing. Are you gonna get rid of your best employees? No. You're gonna get rid of employees who have less experience, are underperforming. You're not going to get rid of your top people. So if you just go out and say, hey, we're downsizing, everybody go look for another job. Well, guess what? The ones who are probably going to get another job and may even get better jobs are the best employees. So if you do that and the best employees leave, what are you left with? The worst employees. And that is going to make your business less effective and less efficient. So that is a bad management tactic. Okay. What you might want to do is be honest. We are downsizing. We're not getting rid of the best employees here. Okay. Just keep working, and I'll let you know as I find information out about whether or who's going to get downsized. Suppliers. Management has to deal with suppliers, ensure that products are made available to customers. In global markets, firms enlist hundreds of diverse suppliers. Okay. One of the things you want to do as a manager is ensure a constant supply of goods to your customers, or in this case, services if you're performing a service. We don't want to have to rely on one supplier, where if there's a problem, we can't get goods and services to our customers. So oftentimes it is our job as a manager to diversify the list of suppliers we have. Hey, I can't get any of it from supplier A, but I can get it from B, C, and D. Managers are important in financial resources. They pay for essential activities, including owners, shareholders, banks, and other financial institutions. Okay, this is from your book. There we go. Figure 6-1, the functions of management. You can see here we've got managers are involved in planning, organizing, directing, and controlling. These are the basic functions of management. Planning activities to achieve the organization's objectives. Organizing resources and activities to achieve the organization's objectives. Directing employees' activities towards achievement of objectives, and controlling the organization's activity to keep it on course. So these 4 things, I would make sure I knew them for the test. Memorize them. Planning, activities to achieve the organization's objective. Organizing, resources and activities to achieve the organization's objective. Directing employees' activities towards achievement of objectives. That's the main thing most of us think of when we think of a manager is, hey, he's going to tell me to go do this or this or this or that. Okay, but that's not everything. And then controlling the organization's activities to keep it on course. We don't want things to get haywire and where we're actually moving away from our objectives. Planning lays the groundwork for other functions. So this is your first step. Here's the plan. A lot of times people will go in without a plan. If you don't have a plan, then those other 3 steps, good luck. So it lays the groundwork for the other functions. It requires a statement of mission. We talked about that, I believe, in chapter 1. A mission statement. What is it that this business is here to do? Okay. We're here to satisfy consumer needs at a low price, whatever. Those things are laid out in the mission statement. Okay. And that's why those things are so important. We need that so we know how to plan. The goals are the results the firm wishes to achieve. Objectives are measurable statements on common issues such as profit, competitive advantage, efficiency, and growth. Here, we might say, well, to make this particular activity of a business, say a new product, worthwhile, our objective is to earn a 10% profit in that division. Competitive advantage, we may say, oh, in 6 months from after we launch this product, we want 5% of the market share. Okay. And then a year later, we want 15. And 2 years later than that, we want 40% of the market share. That's an example of a measurable objective. Efficiency and growth. Efficiency, we may say we want to cut our cost. We may say right now, our costs are $8 per unit. We want to drive that down to $7.50 in a year or 6 months. That would be efficiency. And growth, we may say, oh, we want sales for this branch of our firm to increase 10% a year, or we want profits to increase. Okay, those are all measurable statements on common issues such as profit, competitive advantage, efficiency, and growth. Those would be objectives. Okay, plans to specify how to meet those objectives. How are we going to increase profit margins on a particular product? Are we going to do it by advertising it, increasing demand for the product, driving up the price we get? Are we going to do it through improvement in the product, improving the quality so people are willing and able to spend more money on it? Are we going to do this by reducing the cost of producing the product, maybe scaling it? Okay, these things all work together. This is just something interesting I'm just going to talk about briefly. It's in your book. They talk about pressure, decision overload in the workplace. Okay, there's pressure to make correct decisions. Managers make about 3 billion decisions a year. And during days when managers have to make many decisions, decision-making skills tend to break down. Okay, this can also be sort of an effect of micromanaging on behalf of a manager. I happen to know of a business, so I won't mention it, but the person who's in charge there, the manager of this fairly good-sized business, a lot of people there, this person seems to want to control everything. They feel like, hey, I've got to make every decision so that I know they're right. Okay, and they make decisions that they probably shouldn't be making. Things that are probably best handled by other people, maybe closer to that activity. Okay. This person is constantly micromanaging, making decisions. And of course, what happens? They can suffer through decision overload, okay, or decision fatigue. Now, ways to get around this are, of course, letting subordinates make decisions sometimes, leaving the littler things to the people underneath you. Let them make that decision. They're closer to it. The ramifications aren't as important as other decisions you might have to make. Now, we can also use industry best practices. Many industries have magazines, trade journals. They have certain best practices to use. A best practice is sort of something that occurs with some frequency that other managers and other people have dealt with in a certain way and found has been successful the majority of the time or all of the time. You never know. So oftentimes, instead of sitting there and analyzing every single little thing that comes in, where these things can be grouped together as common, we can say, oh, this is the way it's been handled in the past in a right way. This is how many firms in the industry handle it. Let's just go with this industry best practice. Okay. Consider final consequences. What are the consequences of your decisions? Brainstorm alternatives. More brains oftentimes are better than one. Just because you ask for other people's input doesn't mean you're not doing your job as a manager or you're not being a good manager. There's information oftentimes that subordinates or other people in the firm may have that's useful and will help you make a better decision. Just because you ask somebody for their opinion or their input doesn't mean you have to take it. Okay? And remember, decision making is not isolated. There are other people involved. At times, why not bring them in? Okay. Now, here we talk about strategic plans. When we talk about planning, establish objectives and strategy to fulfill the mission. Okay. Generally cover periods ranging from 1 year or longer. So these are long-term goals. This might be adding products to a firm, purchasing other companies, selling unprofitable segments of the business, issuing stock, moving into international markets. These would be a strategic or long-term plans, okay, which we would use to establish objectives and strategy to fulfill, that we would establish objectives and strategy to fulfill the mission. Okay, so we want to add products. How are we going to do that? Tactical plans are short-range plans used to implement strategic plans. These cover periods of a year or less usually. They keep the firm on course established in that strategic plan. So the strategic plan is broad. The tactical plans narrow it down. How are we going to achieve these objectives set forth in the strategic plan? Ever-changing market conditions require short-run or tactical plans to deal with environmental change, okay, or changing environments. Okay, if a new firm enters the market that we didn't anticipate before, that might cause us to have to create a tactical plan to deal with that. How do we deal with this extra competition? Advertising. We say, hey, our product is better than their product. Our product is cheaper than our product. Their product, our product is easier to get than their product. Okay. We could also maybe say, hey, let's buy that company. So those are examples of tactical plans that might arise because of changes in environment affecting our strategic plan. Operational plans specify actions to achieve the tactical plan. These apply to details in executing activities quickly. Then we have crisis management or contingency planning. These deal with potential disasters. The Hurricane Florence that hit the Carolinas. A lot of companies have contingency plans on how to deal with that. One of the biggest ones is Waffle House. In fact, if you ever get a chance, look up Waffle House. I believe it was a Mises Institute article by a guy named Jeffrey Tucker, where he talks about the fact that Waffle House has contingency plans for hurricanes. They make sure that they have food available in areas where there are natural disasters so that they continue to feed first responders and people who are left behind during a hurricane. They get trapped during a hurricane. That would be an example of a contingency plan or crisis management. Okay. Your book talks about Herbalife. They do business in 90 countries. Well, in each one of these countries, they're selling their product in that local currency. What happens if exchange rates fluctuate? Currently, or at least fairly recently, countries like Turkey the value of the Turkish lira, which is their currency, dropped dramatically. If Herbalife is doing business in those companies, they have to have contingency plans for this. Their corporate profits as an American company are reported in dollars. If they're selling their product for, say, 10 lira, and before 10 lira equaled $1, now it equals 50 cents, then what do you do about that? Some companies will have a contingency plan where they will buy an option on a market to sell the Turkish lira, in this case, 6 months from now, at somewhere around 10 lira per dollar. That way, when the lira drops to 20 per dollar on the market, they've already got a deal in place where they can convert them at 10. So those are examples of contingency planning. Organizing. The structure, this is another function of management we talked about. Structuring of resources and activity helps create synergy, establishes lines of authority, improves communication, helps avoid duplication of resources, improves competitiveness by speeding up decision making. Okay, what we do here is we say, okay, here are all the things we need to get done. Let's organize them into, say, a function. Say, okay, we're going to take all of these common parts of our plan and these activities, and we're going to organize them and put someone in charge of them. Okay? So to give an example, we might have a financial manager in a firm. He handles anything dealing with finance. Then he has accountants underneath him who go out and do the books and report, fill out the business financial reports for the business. We may have operations. Those are the people who are involved with managing the operations of the firm. So we organize it. That establishes lines of authority. CEO, CFO, maybe the controller of the company, and then an accountant who's doing the books. Okay, improves communication. It helps avoid duplication of resources. And it helps improve competitiveness by speeding up decision making. Directing, motivating, and leading employees. This is what we normally think of with management, but it's just one part of it. We've also got planning and organizing that we've already talked about. Telling employees what to do and when to do it using deadlines. Then encourage them to do their work. Determining and administering rewards and recognition. Providing incentives. Ask workers to contribute ideas for reducing cost, making equipment more efficient, improving customer service, or developing new products. Those are parts of directing. Okay. Now you can see here that directing, a lot of that is going to be very important when we get with frontline managers, and less so as we move up the chain to top managers. Controlling. Evaluating and correcting activities involves 5 activities. Measuring performance. If we're working on the Goodyear plant on the tire line, we may say, we would say at the Goodyear plant, we may expect employees to produce, say, a certain number of tires an hour, and we'll measure that. We'll go out and keep track of how many tires each employee makes per hour. We'll compare performances, standards, or objectives. We may have done some research and found out that an average tire maker can make 20 tires in an hour. And we're going to compare each employee's performance against that. Okay? Identifying deviations from standards. We want to know why maybe some employees are deviating from these standards. We may have one employee who's producing 30 tires an hour. We want to know why. Why is he doing so well? We may say, well, he's been here the longest. He's the most experienced. He knows the most. Okay. We may have someone who's only producing 10 tires now. We want to know why. Is it because this employee just isn't good at it? Is it because they're not trying? Is it because of something we haven't done? Maybe they haven't received training. Those are why we want to know. It's not just enough. Hey, you're not producing an average. I don't know why. Why are you producing more, or why are you producing less than average? And then take corrective actions when necessary. Okay, we always think of bosses firing people. Employees, managers, companies do not want to fire people. It costs money to hire you. It costs money to train you. If you don't work out, I've got to go out and hire and train another employee and spend the money to do that. Most of the time, we'd rather correct the actions of an employee who isn't meeting standards or isn't performing well. Okay? It's cheaper. You heard those stats, the old line, it's cheaper to keep her. It's cheaper to keep an employee than it is to fire them and rehire another. Firing alone costs money. Okay. So here we've got levels, top, middle, and front line. We'll go over them. And you can see the importance of the management functions differ based on what type of management we're in. Least important to most important. Planning, organizing are most important to top level managers. That's their function. Followed by staffing, directing, and controlling. Okay. If you go into executive offices, there's no time clocks. No one's punching in. Okay. No one's keeping track of what the other guys do. Okay. They're looking at performance. Right. Middle managers, you can see the organizing and staffing become more important, planning a little bit less. Okay. They're taking the strategic plans of the top managers and forming tactical plans on how to achieve those things. And then frontline managers, you can see like what we talked about before. The biggest part of their job is directing and controlling. They're the ones implementing the policy and the plans and the objectives set by top and middle managers. They're moving the pieces around to get the job done. They're less involved in planning, organizing, or staffing. Okay. Top management have overall responsibility for an organization. In publicly owned corporations, the CEO, the boss is the board whose boss is the board of directors. They spend most of their time planning and making strategic decisions. Compensation committees work with directors and CEOs to keep pay in line with performance. These are your top executives. Okay. Now, if you can get into that business, you can see the money you can make. Thomas Rutledge, Charter Communications, cable company, $98 million a year in compensation. Indra Nooyi, Pepsi company, president, 25.2. Those are pretty good jobs, CEO, if you can get them. Okay. Types of management, middle management, responsible for tactical plannings, have more focused responsibilities, and spend more time organizing than other managers. These include plant managers, division managers, and department managers. And this middle management function has been shrinking down as companies downsize. Frontline managers supervise work and daily operations, implement plans established by middle management, and direct workers' daily performance. They spend most of their time directing and controlling rather than what? Planning and organizing, and maybe even staffing. Includes foremen, supervisors, and office service managers. Okay. Areas of management, we have different areas. Okay. Finance, production and operations, human resources, marketing, IT, administration. These things are all fairly straightforward. I'll show the slides, but we're going to shoot through them. Okay, there's financial manager. Okay. Production and operations manager, human resources manager. If you need to, you can stop the slides and read these. Marketing manager, information technology manager, administrative manager. We'll stop for a short quiz. Be back. Okay. Managerial roles. We have interpersonal decisions. interpersonal roles, figure liaison leadership. We've got informational monitor, disseminator, spokesman, decisional, entrepreneur, disturbance handler, resource allocator, negotiator. These are all different roles that managers can take on. Technical expertise, specialized knowledge and training needed to train employees, answer questions, provide guidance, and solve problems. This is needed most by first line managers and is least critical to top line managers. Okay, we looked at the CEO of Pepsi Company. I doubt that she's very good at or has a lot of knowledge on how to work a bottling machine. It's not necessary for her. Meanwhile, the shift supervisor down here at the local Pepsi plant probably has a bunch of technical knowledge. He or she has to perform that job, to train employees and make sure employees are actually performing the function that they're paid to do in a proper manner. Financial managers. Okay. Financial manager of a city hedge fund analyzes data from financial charts. Financial managers are responsible for obtaining the necessary funding for organizations to succeed both in short term and long term. Okay. Conceptual skills is a skill needed by managers. Here you've got to think in abstract terms. It's needed most by top level managers. These people will evaluate where the company will be in the future. They have to think creatively. If we want to look at conceptual skills, Steve Jobs, probably one of the best at it. Steve Jobs was not a great programmer. He wasn't a great hardware guy. But Steve Jobs was someone who could take what was going on in the technological field of computers, understand it, and figure out ways to make it learnable or easy to use for the layperson. One of his greatest moves was GUI interface, the icons we see now. When I first got my first computer, I was a teenager, and it was a box, the metal box with a screen on it, and it came with a screen in the box, and it operated on DOS. To operate a DOS computer, you had a manual about that thick that you had to read to know code, to actually go in and tell the computer to do what you wanted it to do, run a file or whatever. Okay, you had to run, and then you had to hit slash, and then you had to put the drive, I can't even remember anymore, but the folder it was in, and the file that you wanted to execute. Okay, now you just click on a picture and you open Word or whatever file you want to learn. He was able to take these things and say, what do I need to do to make this personal computer, accessible and easy to understand for people that don't know anything about computers? So Xerox wanted to invest $1 million in Apple. And Steve Jobs played coy, and he said, well, I guess I could take your money, but if you want me to take your $1 million, you have a research facility. I want you to let me in and let me see everything you've got there. I want it all. Well, inside that research facility for Xerox, I believe it was, they had the GUI interface. They knew, the developers, the researchers knew they had something important there, but they didn't know how to implement it, to turn it into a product, a business plan, and profits. But they knew it was important. So when Steve Jobs went to the research facility, they hid it from him. He knew it was there. So he went back to IBM, called the financial people. He didn't call the computer people, because they would have said, hey, man, it's too important. We don't want to let you look at it. Forget the $1 million. Called the financial people. Said, hey, I said everything. They hid this from me. I know you got it. Show it to me, or I won't take your $1 million. And the financial people said, oh, take it. Show him everything. Give him everything. And that was how Steve Jobs got GUI, which was what enabled him to make the Macintosh. for Apple. So these conceptual skills are important. They're needed mostly by top managers, and they're figuring out where the company's going to be in the future, and they have to think creatively. Analytical skills. You identify relevant issues most important to the success of top level managers. Resolving ethical issues often resolves analytical skills. Okay. If you are an executive in a company, you have a fiduciary duty. You have a duty to the shareholders to maximize their value. And you have to act in every manner, and every decision you make has to be made in a way that makes the shareholders wealthier. You can have ethical conflicts. Well, if I had a plane, I could fly around a lot more, go out and visit people, and I could also go see exotic places while I'm doing it. Do we need the plane or not? Is that plane in the best interest of my shareholders, or is it in my best interest? Human relation skills, the ability to deal with people. You're more successful if you can relate to other people, communicate well, understand the needs of others, show true appreciation for others. This is important, especially in banks. I worked for a bank. Basically, my job was to go and walk in, just talk to someone I didn't know, get them to like me and trust me, and convince them to do business with me. Here's some requirements for successful leadership. Communicate objectives and expectations, gain respect and trust of stakeholders, develop shared values, acquire and share knowledge, empower employees to make decisions, be a role model for appropriate behavior, provide rewards, and take corrective actions to achieve goals. I'm going to stop here and we'll have a little bit of a quiz. But I want to tell you right now that being a role model for appropriate behavior as a manager, this is something that is very important. Okay, especially the further you work up the chain. If you walk in somewhere as a college graduate, we all know that more is expected of you morally and ethically. Okay, you expect more out of managers and people with college degrees. Hopefully, someday soon, you're going to be a person with a college degree and you'll be involved in management somewhere. Okay, that means you have to behave and you're held to a higher standard, both as a manager and as a college graduate. Okay, we don't talk about that enough in colleges. We say, oh, here's some lessons, go out there and pass a test and you get your grade. And you get enough grades, you get a degree. But it's more than that. We all know I had jobs before I had a college degree. When I had managers and people who had come in from college, I expected more of them morally and ethically. I didn't expect them to be someone who would hurt the company or hurt the employees or, God forbid, steal from them. So these are important things. Not only should you uphold yourself to these moral standards, but also your employees. Okay. We're going to stop here, and the quiz will come up. Please read the chapters, do the video quizzes, take the Blackboard quizzes on all the chapters, then study the PowerPoints, extra videos, and your book again before you take the tests to be successful on the exams. Our next exam will be on Chapter 8. That's coming up in a couple of weeks. I'm trying to get these videos put out faster. I've had some problems with iLos. I had a video done that I lost and I couldn't use, so that's why this one has been delayed, but I'm going to try and get them out faster. All right. Thank you very much and have a great day.